defense.
Do you hear them? Do you see the comments flashing before your eyes when you close them at night? The black and white world of the absolutes. Since the beginning of martial art history, we have always heard the great debate of something's effectiveness, whether this would work in a real life situation or not. And you hear things like this: this martial art is the best martial art. Nothing can ever stop it. Or you hear the opposite that says, that would never work in a real street fight. How dare you teach somebody that? But I think it would be helpful if we can figure that out for ourselves, and I think I came up with a good breakdown to determine that at home. So we're going to look at three things today. First is going to be its practicality. Secondly will be its applicability. And thirdly will be its efficiency, all to determine its effectiveness. So let's begin. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys today about is a technique or martial arts practicality. And what I mean by this is, how much does your situation or environment lend itself to that technique or martial arts? Here's an example. I do Taekwondo, and a lot of people hate on Taekwondo because it's not as practical. Our environment really factors into my ability to be able to use the kicks, especially the fancy ones. So for instance, if I'm in a closed quarter, I don't have really the space to do a turning kick. I just don't have the space. Or if I'm on a slippery floor, maybe it's tile, maybe it's wet, maybe it's mud, I don't have the grip I need to put power into a kick without falling over. Or maybe it's an angle. Just angles alone change the dynamic of a kick. So they become very less practical than a punch. So that's why boxing is a very consistent martial art, if you want to call it a martial art, because it's founded very solidly and you can use it almost always. So it's more practical. Some other martial arts that we can consider are gi jujitsu or gi judo, where you really are relying on the gi to be there, to choke, to throw, whatever else. So that's why a lot of people tend towards no gi jujitsu. That's what I do, no gi jujitsu, so that I can really get the feel for a normal, almost everybody I could use this on, compared to relying on a specific amount of clothing with a cross collar that I could choke someone out on. So those are some things to consider. The next thing we want to talk about today is technique or martial arts applicability. How does it apply to you in your body type, your size, and your condition? And let's talk about it. Your body size really does factor into a martial art. Obviously, martial arts are there so we can kind of overcome some of those obstacles. But automatically, if you have a non-skilled guy versus a non-skilled guy, but this guy is much larger, he automatically has the upper hand. Now, we learn martial arts so that we can try to at least level this out and maybe do better. But they automatically have the upper hand. So, when I'm talking about applicability, I want to know, does this technique or martial art require me to be very strong, very tall, very fast, what have you? So here's an example. A lot of people say, in a self-defense situation, just run away. Just run away. That's the answer all the time. What if you can't run away? What if you're an older person who can't run? What if you have bad knees, your body condition? What if your condition is poor? Maybe your own fault, but you're out of shape and you don't have the endurance to run. What if you have a child with you? You can't run when you have a child with you because you got to take care of the child, or you got to try to carry the child, and then that becomes a hindrance and a burden in the sense of being able to run. So it's not always applicable to you. So when someone teaches you an absolute, you got to really say, hey, wait a minute, does that really apply to me? Another example is this. What if someone says, the best thing is always just to choke them out? Choke them out. Well, what if you're a kid and you can't even reach their throat. You know, it automatically becomes not applicable to you. So we need to consider those things when we're talking about martial arts and considering what should I really train if I'm trying to learn self-defense, and is this technique good to practice, or is it just a waste of my time? Because if you're learning how to only choke as a primary but you can't reach the throat, it's kind of a waste of time in a large amount of circumstances. And lastly, guys, efficiency. Efficiency determines how quickly and consistently can you remove yourself from a threat. Here's an example. We just talked about running away here a minute ago. Now maybe running away is your most efficient way to resolve and remove yourself from a problem. If you can run away, you have the physical health, you have the body that's prepared for running, and you have an environment that lends yourself to getting away, that might just be your solution. Or maybe it's staying out of a situation in the first place. That's very efficient. You're not even there to have anything go down in the first place. But how about some of the kicking? Again, going back to kicking, I could do some 6-kick combo and try to knock somebody out. But what if I can just go and knock somebody out? That punch is a lot more efficient than the 6-kick combo. Or maybe it's a takedown. We always see, if you look at like Krav Maga, Hapkido, Aikido, you can see all these like 6-move takedowns, right? But it requires you to grab them, pull them, push them, lift them, right? It requires a lot of steps that your brain has to process in a quick, efficient amount of time, and it has to work consistently. Grabbing, pulling, pushing, and lifting all have to work for those moves to work. They could work, but do they work efficiently, and do they work consistently like a punch would? So those are something to consider, and I think we could gain a lot from breaking those down in all of our discussions. So in summary, guys, in order to determine a martial art or technique's effectiveness, we need to look at its practicality. Does this environment or situation lend itself towards this technique or martial art working? We need to look at its applicability. Does my body type or condition factor in and align itself with that technique or martial art? And we need to look at its efficiency. Does it get the job done quickly? Does it get it done consistently and reliably? And if we can do those three things, I think we can actually start rating these things on a scale. And I think I'm going to start doing that, actually. If you guys are interested in that, I'm going to make videos breaking down different martial arts and determining their effectiveness for training. This way you guys can follow along, see if you agree, see if you disagree. Maybe I need to tweak it a little bit. But let's go through this together and figure out how effective martial art is and what's the best one for you guys. So stay safe out there. Ignore the absolute statements. They're not really that helpful. And them guys just like to comment from behind the keyboard. So we'll talk to you guys later. Stay safe out there.
Yeah.